I give it about a 50% chance it's going to run. It all makes sense. I'm losing all my coolant. So guys, we're back on Sylvia, the 940 turbo. I would say the engine is, no, I was going to say it's as disassembled as it needs to be, but it's not, because we still need to take off the belt from the bottom, so I've got to take the pulley off and all that, so I'm sure that will be fun, but I've got the tool, so I'm way more confident that it's going to work. Yeah, and then guys, everything else is pretty much, we've got to take off these coolant lines, these hoses, these heater hoses, swap those out, get the PCV box on. Yeah, make sure this block is clean. I think it's looking pretty good. Yeah, and then we'll see about starting to build everything back up again. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's actually been maybe a couple of weeks since I was at the garage, so I'm just like, I can't remember where anything went. I don't know where all the nuts and bolts are. Yeah, it took too long to get the head sorted out, because obviously we had to skim it and I had to wait for extra parts that I didn't think I would need. And yeah, just things went on a little bit, work and, you know, life. So yeah, it's been a while actually. I normally like to get these things done. I'd normally take it apart and get it back up together within a couple of days. When you start to talk about weeks, you really start to lose where you were and where everything went. But luckily for us, well, for me, these things are pretty simple, aren't they? So I don't think we can go too far wrong. So yeah, anyway, I definitely shouldn't say that. I always make the mistake of talking like that. Anyway, enough waffle. Let's get started. These can be a right pain, these nuts. I think the whole stud's coming out with that one. So take the fan out of the way. Feels okay actually, but that's why I'm replacing it, because it's leaking. And that may have been why this car had issues in the first place, because it lost too much coolant, overheated. Head gasket went, you know, the knock-on effect. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to spending the money on so many new parts, but it is going to be nice to have so many shiny new parts in the engine bay. It's the closest we get to Christmas, like reliving that Christmas magic when you were a kid and having that stack of presents. It's kind of the same thing when you work on cars and you get a big box turn up for your baby. Right, let's see. So it's quite amazing how much water is still in there even after we've disconnected all the hoses. The amount of coolant that's actually still left in the car. It's a lot, isn't it? Really thick metal, that's not going to deteriorate anytime soon. But yeah, the seal's leaking. Once you take the head off, you've got access there to that seal. You could probably just replace that and be okay. So guys, I'm replacing the PCV box. Now, I know that you can clean them out. A lot of you have suggested before just to give them a clean. Chuck them in diesel, leave it overnight. But to be honest, with the price of diesel at the moment, I think it's cheaper to buy a new box. Another thing to do is these coolant hoses here. We've got two here. With the head on, for this one, I think you probably have to remove the inlet manifold, don't you? Must be a nightmare. So we've got some rusty coolant in there. The coolant is really clear, but back here it's rusty. So again, another good reason to get in here and clear all this out. Freshen everything up, get rid of some of the rust, clean it up. Take this off, like so. We've got parts here where it's been rubbing against something. So this could have burst quite easily, and then we would have been back here doing it all over again. So now I'm going to use a razor blade and try not to cut myself, but I probably will. And get rid of all the crap on this block. I need a gasket scraper really. I might buy one when I buy the parts for this thing tonight. If you take out any chunks or anything like that, it's going to be a huge problem. So still got to be a little bit careful with it, even though it's iron. Not as gentle as you'd need to be with the cylinder head, because it's aluminium. But yeah, we just want to make sure that all this is off. it's got to be a completely smooth surface. So I'll see you in a few hours. Yeah, oh, and thank you to Liam as well, Liam Taylor, who designed this for me. He did it ages ago. You guys have probably seen I've had this logo for a while. I never thanked him publicly, and I think it makes for a nice t-shirt as well. Before I forget, not just forget to show you, but forget to actually do it, and it would be a big deal if I did forget, so I'm going to do it now. If I put the head on and then I try and torque down the bolts, and there's coolant or oil at the bottom of those threads, it's going to go tight, and it's going to affect the torque values, because it's going to compress that oil and water. Now obviously if you use a thread tapper, because they have part of the thread that's actually open, it probably pushes out the stuff much easier, but this still does work, because without the head on. See it? So you can see how much oil was in that thread. So yeah, so just cleaned everything out, and also a good visual inspection of down the side of the pistons. You can actually see there is quite a lot of space in between the piston and the cylinder, so you can imagine that just fills up with all the stuff that you've cleaned off and sits there. And if you've got any grit, any bits that you don't want down in there, you know, a bit of corrosion, old gasket, whatever, you know, you don't want that in there. You don't want that staying in the engine, scoring the cylinders, and it doesn't take much to do it either. I hope that block is clean enough. I think it is. A bit of oil into each cylinder, just so it's not completely bone dry. That's it. Just a bit. So just wanted to say quickly as well, of course, there's the part 1 to this head gasket video, but also in between there's an extra video where I totally stripped down the cylinder head, took the valves out, took everything out, obviously got it skimmed and did a bunch of work as well. That's a separate video, and I'll put a link to that at the end of this video. You'll see it pop up at the end screen. So yeah, I think now we're pretty much ready to get the head on. Yeah, I don't feel ready, but I think we are. So here we go, we've got our head bolts. So yeah, we'll put a bit of oil on them and drop them in. Yeah, I thought about reusing the old ones, because you can, apparently about 5 or 6 times I think it is. You just need to inspect them to make sure that they're not stretched or misshapen or anything like that. You're supposed to check them and measure them. But I thought, you know what, I was going to, and then when I saw that you can get a set of 10 for €13, L-ring, I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do then. It's not worth taking the chance. It's exciting. I am really excited. Maybe don't look like it or sound like it, but that's just my demeanour anyway. And I am a little bit nervous as well, of course. Yeah. Will it run? This really is a will it run, because it's like, it was running, but then I've been in there and had everything apart, so, you know, I give it about a 50% chance it's going to run. Yeah. Stage 1, 20, 60, 90 degree. Okay, good. They're all at 20 before I go any further. Then, here we go then. 60 Newton meters. That's it, that's the torque anyway. Now it's the angle timing. 90 degrees. Let's have it. Yeah, that is tight. But there we go. The head's on. Hopefully we did everything right. Okay, so it doesn't let you take it off where the mark is there. You do it at 0 degree. No, you do it at 10. Something, doesn't really matter. I'm not fussed about that. As long as it goes on and holds it. Right, I'm going to put the nut on for the tensioner. Let's try it. Ah, yeah, it's tight. Of course it is tight. Let's see, let's see. I'm going to bring the length out a little bit. It's tight. Ah, it's going. It's going. There we go. Oh, it's out. Okay, that's that off. It's not in the best shape, is it? We're going to have to renew this at some point, because this rubber in between, it's like a vibration dampener, isn't it? Damper, whatever you call it, I don't know, but it cracks and breaks up, and then you can end up in a situation where the outer part of the pulley kind of detaches from the center part, so the middle part will spin but the outside's not doing anything, and obviously then these bolts aren't getting driven. So this one doesn't look great, does it? It'll go on a little bit longer. It would have been nice to actually replace it at this point, but I guess they're quite expensive. There we go. Okay, and that's the belt free. I'll get over there, I'll get over there. It's going to be a little bit of glare from the lights I'm using, but hopefully it's okay. I've got a new tensioner here. Nice and smooth. So I'm going to slot this on. You can see there that it's pretty much where it needs to be. Maybe it could come back slightly. I'll take that out so that there's tension on it. Of course, I forgot to put the bracket on before putting the nuts on for the manifold. Every time. I always do it with the thermostat housing. I always leave the bracket off every time. So the NA motors, they have a flame trap, and the turbo motors, they just have this plain Y piece here. But same as on the flame trap, this nipple here can snap off. So yeah, I've got a genuine Volvo one, and hopefully it'll be alright. Chunks missing out of it, like these holes. I mean, it's not, they're not holes, they haven't gone through, like stab marks. Like, it all makes sense. So a lot of these vacuum lines are in really, really bad condition. I mean, yeah, they're all gone, they're all really bad. So I've actually bought some vacuum line. I bought a couple of meters of it. Place your bets now. Will it run? I'm going to take out the number 1 fuse. crank it over just to make sure the engine turns and everything sounds okay, and then we'll see. So I'm just going to check. There. Yeah, we're in time. Could go a little more. That's pretty much where it wants to be. Yeah, we're keeping time. Stinks. It's pouring out of here, but it's not. I'm losing all my coolant. But I had problems with bleeding the 740 when it was this way, and the heater core ends up higher than the expansion bottle in the front of the car, and then I think air gets trapped in the heater core and it can't circulate through. So I'm trying to get the front of the car up. The garages are definitely sloped. Whatever, man. Noisy shit engine. It was doing that noise before, so I don't know what it is. Let's see if we got some heat in here now. Oh yeah, proper Volvo heater. So there we go. Now we've chased the air out. We've got full flow. It doesn't smoke. That's one thing we didn't really check for, isn't it? If it smokes. So we know our valve stem seals are on. Still kind of slow.